I don't want you to protest. I don't want you to riot. I don't want you to write to your congressman because I wouldn't know what to tell you to write. I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation and the Russians and the crime in the street. All I know is that first, you've got to get mad.
Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of An Atheist Gets Mad. I'm your host, Aaron Sharp, and today we're going to take a look at some very controversial issues as we continue to examine Islam. They are also from the Love Allah 328 channel, and to help us along, we also have what some would consider a controversial YouTuber, and his name is More Dogma. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your channel and what you do?
What is going on? Happy to be here. My channel is just kind of me, honestly, spitballing. I just kind of go on with whatever the topic of the day is and give my 2 cents on that. And I try really hard not to be controversial, but I guess it comes out that way sometimes.
Yeah, I see. Some people would probably say that you're controversial. Others would probably say that you align perfectly with their ideologies. That's basically the way that the world works.
Yeah, I've noticed that myself.
Yeah, we all have our different leanings. I know that me and you have gotten into a few, not necessarily heated arguments, but a few conversations, to say the least, in the past.
But it was always nice though, and I always try to welcome that. Even when in the video, it's like, I'll have the conversation. I'd love to.
Yeah. So today we're going to be taking a look at a couple of videos. The first one is called Attack on Prophet Muhammad by Islamophobia. And as stated before, this is from the Love Allah 328 channel. And let's just get right into this.
Sounds good. So I'm liking the name so far.
Yeah, I think it's a good name. It's a strong name.
Yeah, it's sending a message.
And we have to realize that we should think about the questions themselves and where they're emanating from, and perhaps the questions themselves are flawed. And I want to give you just one simple example that the right always uses, Islamophobes always use, and they make a very big deal of it. And that is, they say, for example, your prophet, astaghfirullah, was, and they use a very vulgar word, interested in young people. And I don't want to use the word out of respect for the Prophet, because the age of Aisha was young age. It was 9 years old in the Sahih Bukhari hadith.
I'm assuming that word's pedophile. Is that the P word?
Yeah. I was going to say, I think we can just come out and say that they're calling him a pedophile.
Yeah, I'd agree.
And really, if you're going to have sex with somebody that's under the age of 18, probably a pedophile. I mean, it depends on the law.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen the excuses too. Well, yeah, I mean, they go with that. They kind of go with, well, at that time, it was whenever a girl was ready, was physically ready. And it's kind of like, okay, but I mean, she was 9. I mean, geez, that's an early bloomer right there. Oh my God.
Real early.
Yeah.
This is really quite disgustingly early. But that's the thing, though, is in most religious texts, and for certainly in the Abrahamic religion, they say that morality is objective and that it cannot change over time. So does that mean that pedophilia is not okay because the rules changed over time? Because if so, then that would mean that morality is subjective. But if morality is objective, then these ideologies, this idea of pedophilia, having sex with a girl when she's 9 years old, it was okay then and should still technically be okay now.
I mean, yeah, you would think so. And that's definitely something that, this is one of the, when I was a child, one of the first things I had such a hard time. So you have this scripture that's saying this thing is okay, or this thing was done by somebody who is flawless. And it's like, but today, if we did it, we'd be arrested. It's obviously a horrible thing. So they dance around it and they give you all these reasons. And then it bounces into another problem they have. Like you said, I mean, objective morality, I don't even think that's in the conversation when they're talking about this 9-year-old girl in Muhammad. This is what happens in my mind when it comes to religious, I don't know, ideologies. It just they bounce up against each other and they got to start tap dancing to get themselves out of it.
Oh, absolutely. It's a duality or whatever, where they'll say, oh, well, our text is inherently moral and everything that our holy book says is going to be correct in every single way. But then when there's actually atrocities in their book, like this, Muhammad being a pedophile, or other things like the whole story about the concubine in the Bible and Lot and the bears. And I think that there's even a whole thing with Moses and his daughters. I think it was Moses anyway.
Yeah, or even just just Lot and him sending his daughters out to the mob of rapists.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just like, oh my God.
So, and just like you said, they have to tap dance around all of these super offensive, super crazy things, and all of those people were considered good men by in the eyes of the Lord, just like Muhammad is considered a good man in the eyes of the Lord. Well, you're not a very good fucking man if you're a rapist, now are you?
No, yeah, and it's just, oh my God, it is. It's something that's frustrating, like, and it's an eye opener. I mean, that was the eye opener for me. That was the eye opener for me, was when it's kind of like, well, here's this thing A, here's this thing B, here's this thing C. It's like, well, hold on a second. If A is true, then how can C possibly be true? And then if you really get into C, it starts making B look pretty weak, and it's just, I don't know, you can't keep all the plates spinning, and they start toppling over, and so you just got to, don't think too much, just kind of listen and believe sort of deal when it comes to these things.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. If you base your beliefs on faith, then that's pretty much all the options that are open to you. Anyway, let's keep going.
Okay, she was 9 years old according to Hadith al-Bukhari. And so they use a very vulgar word. And I've had young men and women come to me, Muslims, and they say, how can we accept
very
this?
Vulgar.
This is something that is vulgar. It's unethical.
Well, you shouldn't. It's completely, yeah, you're right. It is unethical. That's a terrible thing to believe. If somebody is coming to you and saying, hey, I think that this molestation of a 9-year-old girl is unethical, I'm fairly sure that they're probably in the right on that one.
I had a gut reaction when I first heard about the molestation situation with Muhammad and his little girl bride. And I don't know, am I okay? Should I still go on with this? Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, no, the first person that I should turn to is an apologist so they can explain to me why this is okay.
Yeah.
No!
Twist it around for it.
And by the way, they're saying that they use this word, but I'm not going to use this word. No, it is the correct word to use.
Yeah, they keep saying, oh, the vulgar word. The word is bad.
The word is a descriptive term of something that somebody did that was bad. The word itself is just a word.
Absolutely.
It doesn't matter if you think that it's bad or not. That is the descriptive term of somebody that has sex with a 9-year-old girl. And I'm sorry, if you don't like that, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, it's a conundrum with that one. I mean, that's just one of those things, and it's like I'm a little far removed from anybody who kind of grew up believing that, so I can understand even some of the more like the deeper excuses, when it comes to, let's say, Christianity, something I know more about. But with this one, I mean, I'm even seeing it from afar. It's just like, oh my God, and then I hear them talking about it and them like making excuses or once again kind of just dancing around it. It's just like, holy shit. Or, I don't know if that's okay. Sorry, I said the SH word, another dirty word there. and it's just like, oh my God, dude, are you seriously fucking apologizing for this? Like, I just can't believe that. And they are. I mean, they really do. They hold it down. They give me reasons. They give me, oh no.
And it's actually kind of funny too, because you bring up an interesting point, is that looking at the way that Islam does it and then taking a step back and looking at the way Christianity does it, whenever I'm looking at the two, I'm thinking to myself, okay, well, whenever I watch an Islam video and they say something reprehensible, I'm like, oh my God, how could you fucking believe that shit? And then you take a second of pause and you're like, hang on, that fucking every single Christian that I know believes something similar to that.
I mean, it's definitely similar in terms of like just how like you're looking at an era of history where things were very different. I mean, they really were. I mean, they were, and morality, ethical thinking. I mean, a lot of the philosophers that we know today, the Renaissance and just things like that hadn't happened yet. And we just have an idea of today of like equality for men and women, let's say, and something like that. And it's just like, oh yeah, back then they didn't believe that. The text reflects that they didn't believe that. The text shows you that, yeah, no, this was just the setup that we have for culture, for society, things like that. And it's just like, yeah, that was wrong. Like that was how they did it back then. Not a fan. Don't want to live that, don't want to do that today with our society. But
exactly.
Somehow if I had a book that says, like you said, where it's inherently correct, no matter what, written thousands of years ago, or what is this one? I think 1,000 years ago or so.
1400, something like that.
Yeah. It's just really tough to kind of mesh those two at times. So just like we were talking, you have to do the tap dance. You got to start dancing.
I can't believe that a prophet would do this. Now, this person, and this is a classic example, this question is emanating from a particular mind, coming from a particular culture, of a particular generation, and a particular time, and a particular place.
See, and that's like, you literally just made that fucking exact same point. Is that, oh, well, it's coming from a different time and a different place and blah, 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 therefore it's okay? No, that is not okay. It's still not okay. Well, like you're saying,
it bumps up against another principle, like another inherent principle of these religions where it's like, nope, it's not. But you're saying that we have this objective view of what is okay, and that the profit for your religion is like perfect in every way. So that that objective view must not be correct.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. If morality, okay, so like I said before, if pedophilia was okay then, but it's not okay now, then what is it? Is your morality subjective or is it objective? Because if it's objective, then pedophilia is still okay.
Yeah.
It shouldn't matter whether or not it's now or late or then or 100 years in the future, then pedophilia would still be okay. Saying that, oh, well, a girl developed sooner or whatever. No. If anything, well, at least according to popular myth or what have you, it seems that people are developing younger nowadays.
Yeah.
So back then, you would think that people were less developed at that age.
Oh man, and you know what I love? I love when let's say they started using some stuff like that. They started saying like, well, actually, if you look at the scientific record, girls were way more mature back then. It's like, so now you're going to start trying to use the whole science thing on me. Like, is that really where you're going? Because I've seen the creationist arguments that really try to dig into the science of it all, and it's please don't even go there.
Science when science agrees with them, they fucking love using science. It's every other time that the science is just not negligible. Fuck it, it's not important. Who cares?
Don't worry about that science.
Yeah, that science isn't true. It's just like the fucking anti-vaxxers and all that kind of shit. Oh no, the science behind vaccinations is wrong, but if I cut my finger off, I'm going to still go to the doctor. You fucking moron!
It's all the same.
The worst enemies of the Prophet ﷺ, who smeared him with everything imaginable, they couldn't even think of this as a flaw. Why? Because cultures vary, practices vary. And it's not just Islamic or Arab culture. The reality is, 500, 1,000 years ago, the world over, people were marrying at younger ages. Why? Because the lifespan was shorter and young kids became mature.
There it is. Yeah, there's the subjective or the subjective morality. I mean, he's just kind of admitting it flat out right here, so how can, like you said, then how can you come back with there is one way of doing things. There is one way that is correct. The other ways are wrong, in every other scenario. But this way, well, times change, cultures, they're a little different. And now they were way different back then, of course. But today, I don't know. I mean, it's just such a glaring mistake.
Slavery back in those days was okay because it was a different time, and it wasn't really slavery. It was indentured servitude, so it wasn't really slavery. And they couldn't enslave Christians. Oh, right, we're talking about Islam. So, but pedophilia was okay, but it's not okay now. Like, you see how this is so fucking contradictory.
Yeah,
that it's actually, and this is part of the reason again why Islam and other religions, anything that is promoting non-scientific beliefs, that is promoting non-intellectual ideals and stuff like that, is damaging. Every time you believe stupid things for bad reasons, you tend to act on those beliefs in some way. It might just be a little bit, it might be a lot, and in some cases it might be to the point of it trying to introduce Sharia fucking law. But to any extent, believing stupid things for bad reasons is never conducive to a proper society.
At best, you are getting just shit ideas, like terrible ideas, at least founded ideas. So the behaviors that come from at best, they're wrong.
At best, they're wrong. Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, at best, like you said, it can just go so much worse.
At best, they're wrong. At worst, they create massive amounts of problems all over the world.
And pain and problems for just people's real life, and especially those that aren't willing to go along with this stuff.
Well, what was it? The Catholic Church or whatever went to African countries and promoted the idea that they shouldn't be using fucking condoms, and then everybody got fucking AIDS and shit. Like, what the fuck were you thinking?
Yeah, it's just like, look, you're using ideas of a time and a place where that wasn't the idea. And it's like, we've learned more. And I am of that belief where it's like, morality, I've tried to really think about it a lot. Objective, subjective. It's one of those things where it's just like, I think we learn as we go. I mean, we are obviously learning things. And when we gain knowledge, it's like, oh, wow, hold on a second. It seems like this is a little better than that was that we were doing there. So, when you have knowledge from hundreds, if not thousands of years ago, it's just like, yes, that's not going to be the most up to date when trying to treat people or handle others or build a society.
Of course. It's like using leeches or putting lead in your gas tank or doing all of these other things. But the other thing too is that every time you're promoting these kind of ideas, the people that latch onto them are the ones that are the most desperate or the most uneducated or the most in need in some way. So they need something to fill that need. So they end up introducing God into the equation when they actually should be looking for help in a different way. And that ends up deluding them and convinces them of falsehoods and makes them make decisions for bad reasons.
Yeah, absolutely.
I keep stressing the same point because it's so fucking true.
Yeah, I mean, that's something I kind of, I don't want to say deal with a lot, but it's something I see a lot, like working in like mental health, where it's just like, dude, like you could actually get real treatment. And something with like the military and the VA, even, for example, where they have like a chaplain, let's say, on their site or whatnot. And instead, it's like, why don't you have like a therapist or something? You know what I mean? Someone who could handle some of this stuff. But something else that you were saying, like when it's just like the people who believe this, and then I realize, like, when I say to somebody, oh, I'm an atheist, they'll usually give me this look of like, what? And it's just like, oh yeah, I forgot. Nearly everybody that I know, believes in some of this stuff. And it's really difficult for me to understand. And that's, this is, I was talking to somebody, a couple weeks ago, and that was something I was saying, was like, I don't think that's, a lot of people take it to like its logical conclusion. Just like we're saying here with this video, it's like, if you were to just really understand like different facets of it, look at it, from a kind of an outsider's perspective, there's just no way that I think personally I would ever be able to say, yep, you know what, I've attacked it for a while. I don't, I think I'm going to dive in and get me some Islam. I just don't think I could ever do that, because it's like, hold on a second. But just the things we're talking about right now, that would always be in my head as something like that clashes. Yeah,
absolutely. And that's why secular morality is better than any other kind of religious doctrine or anything like that, is because it adapts over time to suit the needs of the people. Whereas if you're just instituting a certain set standard of morality from the onset, and it's inerrant and it cannot be changed, then you're setting up a system that will, by definition, fail, because it can't adapt to the real world.
And changes that are going to happen, changes, new findings, evidence, things that are just simply going to occur. We know that they're going to happen, and it can't keep up. It doesn't keep up. And then we see this now where we have a clash of civilizations. So, there's proof, in my eyes, anyhow.
People were marrying at younger ages. Why? Because the lifespan was shorter and young kids became mature faster. A 9-year-old of 1400 years ago is like a 16, 17-year-old intellectual.
They fucking certainly are not.
A
9-year-old back then is the same, if not less developed than a 9-year-old today.
Oh, they're like 16, 17 years old. 9, 16, what's the difference?
Just because they were fucking them that young doesn't mean they were ready to be fucked that young.
Yeah, dude, this is horrible.
How do you not understand this? This is like, Seriously, how do you fucking not understand that?
I know, man. It's so like to preach it to others too, where it's like, hey, check, I got some ideas for you. Let me let you in on some things. Okay, 9 years old back then, it was like 16, 17 today. That just sounds like a guy in the back of a rapist van who got caught red-handed, and he's just trying to explain himself while the cops are fucking, I don't know, cuffing him up and taking him to the, hold on, man, you don't understand, it's just, holy shit, that is so bad.
Really developed for her age.
Yeah,
fuck
dude,
you.
Come on.
Fuck you. Go fuck yourself. You terrible, ignorant piece of shit. And seriously, anybody who believes that molestation or rape of any child is a good thing, take a look in the mirror, you fucking reprehensible piece of shit, because that's not good.
That really is. That is something else.
And here's the thing is, I'm not saying that every Muslim or every person that follows Islam or anything like that would think that such a thing is okay. Of course they don't.
No.
Of course they fucking don't. Just like a lot of Christians don't think it's okay for some guy to summon a bunch of bears to kill the shit out of a bunch of kids who called him bald. I'm sure that a lot of fucking Christians don't have a good agree with that. And I'm sure that a lot of Muslims don't agree with the whole pedophile thing.
Yeah.
That's a good thing. And that shows progress.
And I would honestly, I'd like to hear, I don't know, I guess we could say moderate Muslim or something. I would like to hear what they just have to say about that. Like, for instance, if I was to ask a kind of more, moderate Christian about the slavery in the Bible, for instance, they might, be able to give me, well, there's parts that you kind of have to pick and choose. And I'd like to actually hear some of this stuff from someone who believes in the religion as a whole, I guess you could say, but believes in it in the more, I don't know, lighthearted or whatever. I don't know what the
in the more moderate sense, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, there's lots of moderate Christians, and there's lots of moderate Muslims. I'd love to, and I would love to hear that opinion too. I'd love to hear what they would say. But the unfortunate thing is that if I know anything from debating Christians, is that they will either pivot and they'll try to change the subject, or they'll try to explain it away, or But there's a whole bunch of different ways that they can try to get around that problem.
Yeah.
But really, none of them are good. None of them are a decent reason why. And I think a lot of the time when somebody is believing that kind of thing, they have to have a certain amount of cognitive dissonance between what they believe and what the doctrine actually says, or else they just simply wouldn't be able to live with themselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? And you have to also remember that a lot of these people grew up in these religions. This is all they've ever known.
Yeah,
right?
so this stuff has been worked out for a while. Like, in their head, they've had their reasons, kind of, I don't know what you can say, constructed for years, and I would imagine this too. They don't really touch on these uncomfortable topics as often as they do the nice ones, so they focus really heavy on the nice stuff. And when the 9-year-old wife comes up, it's like, oh yeah, that happened too, it's just stories, different time period, and girls were different back then. But anyways, back to the praying to the east. Yeah. Oh, fucking hell. So I just want to, I'd like to hear a shout out to anybody who might listen to this and knows some ex-Muslim or current moderate Muslim. I'd like to know the answer.
So when we say 9, we are back projecting our 9-year-old of 2014, Detroit, imagining a 9-year-old girl, and then back projecting that into Medina and saying, oh, how could our Prophet marry somebody that's 9? See, this is a cultural bias. Go do the research. In some states to this day, I'm from one of them, Tennessee, you can marry people at the age of 14 or 15.
It's still not 9.
It's still, that's still not 9. And 14 or 15 is a huge difference from a 9-year-old. And
it really is.
Still 14 to me is still quite young. And if that is actually true, I don't know, maybe I would dispute that. But yeah, sure. Let's say that 14 or 15 is the legal age of consent in your state or country or whatever it is. That's still fucking totally different from 9. Think about this. If you're 9 years old, that's a 5-year difference. 5 years. So that's an entire third of that fucking person's life. Right? That's an entire third.
And here's this, and this is where I think he's trying to go with this is you think of a 9-year-old girl now and you're thinking of this girl with pink little poppy things in her hair and pink little Hello Kitty whatever. You know what I mean? You're thinking of your typical 9-year-old girl, and that's not how 9-year-olds were back then. They had a different lifestyle and so forth. But it's just dude, biologically, the kid was still 9. So if you took, and you kind of have to almost get gross with it for some people like this guy who's going to make it this difficult to say, dude, she was 9. She hadn't gotten her cycle yet. I'm not trying to even go there, but it's just it's that gross. It is that dude. Gross. And it's the prophet of the religion that was doing it. So you have to try to excuse it somehow. I mean, there's only one way to deal with this. You have to hit it head on for someone, if you're going to believe that that's the prophet of your religion. And it's well, he did marry a 9-year-old. So, sorry about that.
And how in the fuck do you square that circle, man? And you make an incredibly good point there. And that. Oh, just
I know it's nasty.
If you're a Muslim
it really
if you're a Muslim in the audience and you're listening to this and that doesn't gross you out, or actually no, if that does gross you out, Good. That's a good thing.
You should be. I
You
felt
should be
gross
grossed
saying
out.
it. I don't like having to explain these things.
No.
It is. It's horrible. But I mean, it's just, God damn, this guy's just like, hey, man, it's all right.
Yeah, there are some things that, you know what, maybe it's reprehensible, just leave it the fuck alone, because you sound worse trying to defend this shit than just leaving it be.
Really, it is. That's true. It would be just like, you know what, he was a guy, you know, he was really good. He was a good guy. He was all around a good dude. This one time he fucked up. You know, that'd be better. I would have more respect.
I mean, it's so strange. It's like you rape one person and all of a sudden you're a rapist for the rest of your life.
I mean, jeez.
This is just ridiculous.
I think we're a little hypercritical of this man.
Clearly.
Right? It's not magical, the age of 18. 50 years ago, 100 years ago, the average age of getting married was in your teen. 500 even more so. Romeo and Juliet, when Romeo and Juliet was written...
Yeah, in your teens.
That
still
man.
make more sense than fucking 10 or 9. It's not even double digits. It's not even double fucking digits.
I mean, I think 9 is still, and like teens is still 13. I feel like, that's just Jesus. You know, it's not even like 10, 11, 12. You're still not in your teens. You know, 13, and that is still disgustingly young. I mean, I'm you know, this is my own personal view, still way too young. You know, it's just I
totally agree. Totally agree.
Yeah.
Like I said, if that's the law inside of your state or country or whatever, like we could dispute that. But again, still better than 9.
Absolutely.
If we're going to be objective about that kind of shit, which I don't know, I guess we have to be in this instance, still better.
Do you know the age of Romeo and Juliet in the Shakespeare's play? Romeo and Juliet are supposed to be 14 and 13 years old. And that's why they had 14 and 13-year-old actors.
Yeah, but they're both oh my fucking God, they're close to the same age.
Yeah, dude.
Like we're not talking about a 42-year-old guy preying on a fucking young girl. We're not talking about, it's different. It's a totally different thing. And a lot of countries have a consent law where you can be within 2 years range of each other. And that makes sense. It makes total fucking sense, because why in the fuck would you be charging a 14-year-old little boy or girl for having consensual sex with a 13-year-old little boy or girl if it wasn't rape and it was consensual? They're so close in age.
Play Romeo and Juliet. Now, in our times, if Romeo and Juliet were 14 and 13, they'd go to jail for pedophilia or something like this, right?
Wrong.
You don't. But look, when Shakespeare's writing, and Shakespeare's only 500 years ago, Romeo and Juliet are supposed to be 14 and 13 because of his era. 14 and 13 is like
Still
our era,
not 9.
14 and 17. If this is something 500 years ago, and subhanAllah, not even 500, again, go look back in this country, in the 1800s, early 1900s, the average age of marriage was early 20s to teens.
Yeah, and you know what? The average the average lifespan hundreds of years ago was only like 35 or some fucking thing like that,
absolutely.
too. Of course, people are going to get married younger, and yeah, again, I suppose people will be having sex at a younger age too. Again, that doesn't make it okay now. And again, that means that your fucking book is inherently wrong, because you're saying that morality is objective. If it's objective, then you can't make it fucking claims that it's subjective.
No, and it's still just not 9. Like, it's just no matter what here. I'm just thinking like, dude, it's still not 9. Like, just continue to, I wish he would almost say that sentence, just not still not 9. Like, just his prior sentence, like open every sentence with, this is what we're talking about. You know, like, our prophet married a 9-year-old, but things were different, blah, 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 blah. Our prophet married a 9-year-old, and keep going on. But just, if you would throw that in between each sentence, it would just be like, yeah, this is total bullshit, man. Oh my God, I can't do it anymore. You know, it's just, my God.
No, you're totally right. And it's fucking reprehensible. I don't care what age that it is.
No.
It's reprehensible by our standards. And if it was okay by their standards, fine. They were fucking wrong by my standards. And I don't care what their fucking standards were, because I don't believe in stupid objective morality, because it's stupid.
In this country, and this is in America, in many other countries to this day, the age of marriage is still much younger. And I don't mind telling you this, my own grandmother, and she was born in British India, my own grandmother got married at the age of 14. She was 14 years old when she got married. And I remember talking to her as she's passed away, Allah yarhamha. I remember asking her, like, and I was at the time 17, 18, so I couldn't imagine getting married at 14. And I said, how could you get married at 14? And she was like, son, beta, you know, everybody got married at that age. All my friends, we all got married at that age. And this is 1920s British India. We're not talking about, 1,000 years ago. So for us to be so gung-ho, so passionate, how could our Prophet ﷺ have done that? SubhanAllah, who should we blame first? Wondering. Our own intellect?
That's what I've been wondering. Like, how do you, at no point in this video has he actually responded to, our Prophet married a 9-year-old. He's responded to our Prophet, girls were different, 14, 15.
Times were different.
Yeah. But he's not responded simply to the claim of our, like, 42-year-old Prophet married a 9-year-old. He has not answered that question.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And he's given us a whole bunch of flowery stories about, my grandmother married when I was 14 and this, that, and the other thing. It doesn't fucking matter, dude. It does not matter one fucking iota what your grandmother did or what anybody else did. We're talking about what he did. And even the examples that you can come up with are still less reprehensible than the actual thing that fucking happened. Or, well, at least that you say that happened.
And you know what I mean? Like, I hate to go back to this, but it really is just in my mind, like, kind of puberty in girls and boys, and it happens at certain ages, and I feel like that age has kind of symbolized.
Yeah, it's kind of a what would you call that? Kind of a
coming of age.
Basically. Yeah.
I guess just that moment in life where it's like, okay, look, this thing's happened. You're an adult now. Especially when the time maybe there was less law around it, but still. Like it's 2/3 of the way there when you're 9, just like you were saying.
Well, and here's the other thing too. There was a time in which we didn't have clocks, but people still ate dinner at roughly the same time. They woke up at roughly the same time, this, that, and the other thing. And in those times, people still developed the same way and everything like that. So you would, there may not have been an age of consent law or whatever, quote unquote, but there would still be kind of a barometer to fucking know.
Yeah.
And even by that barometer, okay, maybe this was a really well-developed 9-year-old. I'm not here to say whether it was or not. Still doesn't matter because that is still far below the age of an average girl or average boy going through puberty. Mm-hmm. It's not.
Absolutely.
Oh, fuck. I hate talking about this kind of stuff. Like, you have to get into the nitty-gritty, gross fucking details.
And it is. It is.
This is what they've resorted this to. This is supposed to be a comedy show, and it's so depressing.
It's giving me chills, man.
Me too. Holy crap.
But it's all right.
Or the seerah of the Prophet. And of course, this leads us to the issue of how do we respond to these charges. And there are many Muslims, they just don't understand and they buckle under the pressure and they start, figuring out, well, Aisha was actually 18. Very convenient because 18 is the age of marriage here. I'm pretty sure 100 years from now. That's one hell of an assumption.
Yeah, sorry, but I just have to say that it's not a fucking miracle. It doesn't miraculously happen. It happens because we decided as a organized, civilized group of people that is the correct age in which we decide that people can have consensual sex. Like up until that, and the reason why we have those fucking laws is so that people can't prey on young children who haven't been able to make those decisions up for themselves.
And prey on them is the best way to say that. Prey on those children. Absolutely. That is absolutely right.
Here's the thing. A fucking child's brain, a human being's brain isn't fully developed until certain points until a certain age.
Yeah. It's still going until you're like 18. Like you're 18, your brain's still in the process. Like it's at the end of the process, but it's still in that process.
Sure. Actually, some studies would even put it so far as like, I think something like 22 years old in men and everything like that. Your brain hasn't properly developed enough for you to make those simple decisions. And I know that the older people that are in the audience, you're going to fucking know perfectly what I'm talking about when I say this. You would never make the stupid ass decisions that you did back when you were fucking 14 or 15 that you would now, because you have an understanding of the repercussions of those decisions. You have an understanding of your emotional state. You have an understanding of all your mental state. You have an understanding of all this shit that you don't have when you're that old. No. You just simply don't.
And I love the way he's talking about it, as if like just over time, like our age of consent, age of marriage and all this and that is just going to continue to grow. One day, maybe 50 years old will be when you get married. married and realize, oh, that's okay. But it's as if like we started at like little kids getting married, you know, and one day,
really.
you know, one day when it's the age of, you know, consent is 20 and 21, 22. It's like, dude, it's not something that's just growing, you know, it's something that we're just kind of figuring out, like you said, exactly, where it's like, we're finding that when you make decisions at 16, you tend to regret them, you know, at 30 and so forth. So, you know, maybe like little kids shouldn't be able to buy guns or just openly have sex and do all these things. Like, man, there should be some rules around this, especially when you're considering what an adult could do, preying on someone. I love that phrase. And so it's just like, you know, we'll put some guidelines in place. And it's just, again, I mean, like I said, my thing just keeps going back to still not 9. You know, I don't mean to be repetitive with that. 9. You know, I'm not trying to be.
No, it's a great fucking point, man. That is the best point, and it contradicts every single thing that he's saying. And the lowest number that he's given us so far, I think, was 13. Yeah, okay, great. Still 13. Not 9.
Like, all right, you've not sold me on 13, but at least you've made your argument. You know, like I see where you're coming from. You weirdo.
Oh, totally. Yeah. At least we're setting up a basis. Like here with you, you're basically saying that there is no fucking baseline that we should go off of.
Age is raised to 1920, automatically Aisha's age will miraculously rise up to 1920. That's not the way to answer these questions. Aisha never complained. She was the happiest wife in the world.
What? It doesn't matter if she's not angry or complaining. Like I said, her brain isn't properly developed enough to know that there's fucking Stockholm syndrome and shit like that too.
That is something else. You fall in love with your
captors. Like, fuck, man.
She wasn't
complaining. The brain is a very complicated goddamn thing. Sometimes you love something that you shouldn't in the first place.
And, I mean, imagine she was the wife of the prophet. And wasn't he the prophet on earth as well? Like, I think he was loved, you know, by a lot of Muslims at the time that he was alive. I don't even know if Islam was there. Was it? You know, I'm not exactly sure. This is one of those areas where I'm just not all brushed up. But it's still, you have to imagine she was marrying a religious leader, and she was given to that religious leader by a religious follower. So of course she was happy. She was a little cult child, you know. It was just like, oh my God.
And he was a huge person back then. He actually sat down and dictated the Quran verbally to his followers, who then wrote it down on like fucking chunks of wood and bone and shit.
Oh my God, dude.
Yeah,
Jim Jones.
He was
sorry,
really,
it's so weird.
Totally right. He was literally like the most famous guy around at that time. That's like if fucking Justin Bieber went and found a fucking 9-year-old girl who was head over heels for him and was like, "Hey, you want to come hang out with me?" Of course she wants to hang out with you.
Want to get married?
You fucking evil predatory. And there again, there's the predatory shit.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, but it really is. I mean, it's so creepy, dude. And so it's hard to go there. But you know, that's what they're doing, dragging me, kicking and screaming.
She loved the marriage of the Prophet. She loved the Prophet. She's not angry. She's not complaining. This is a 1,400-year-old culture. Now, nobody's saying we need to resurrect that in our times. And I don't have any problem as a faqih, as a theologian, as an imam to say, okay, in our age, a 9-year-old girl does not qualify to get married. We have to wait till she's older. No problem. Many ulama are saying that. But for us to feel this complex, and then we have young people coming up to us, how could Islam allow X? Why does the Quran say Y? Take a step back and ask yourself, why am I asking this question? Where is this question emanating from? Perhaps my own understanding should be questioned before questioning the Quran and Sunnah.
Yeah, you know what? Not buying it. I'm pretty sure that no matter what you say, I'm still going to think that this is just completely reprehensible, and I'm not on board. I'm just. You've done literally the worst effort possible to try to convince me that this is a good idea for me to convert to Islam. So maybe we'll check out another video and find out if you can convince me then.
Man, I don't know where you found that video. That was a good one.
So, and I actually thought that me and you were going to disagree on some stuff, and I'm kind of disappointed that we haven't yet, because that makes for great TV. But
yeah, it does make for like a good back and forth. I'm not very disagreeable in terms of like conversation. I don't like to think I'm aggressive, but when I listen to my voice, it's like I see why people say that.
When I first started listening to you, I thought that you were super aggressive, and then after listening to more of your videos and actually understanding your points more and stuff like that, like I get it, and I totally understand why people would think that you're aggressive. It's because you say things that like especially people with my sensibilities, I got triggered immediately.
sorry for that. No, it's my wife. She'll even say this sometimes. She's like, "Why are you yelling?" It's like I'm not yelling. Like I'm just talking to you. Like I'm not trying to be angry or anything.
Well, but you're passionate about what you say, right? And I appreciate that. You're high energy, and that's always a good thing.
I definitely high energy. That's something that's been an issue my whole life.
All right, everybody, that is it for this half of the show. Just like last time, we're going to cut this into 2 parts. If you are a patron or you want to become a patron, you can go to our Patreon page and you can watch the full episode anytime you want. And we also put up all of our new episodes a few days early on there too, if you want to check that out. But if you can't do that, that's totally cool. We'll be back with the conclusion in 2 weeks. And if you liked it, please like, comment, subscribe to the channel. And as always, keep evolving.
You've got to get mad!